There is a spice sitting in the grocery store 2 miles from your house. It costs less than $1, and it does something the $14 billion pest control industry has spent decades making absolutely certain you never discover. It does not repel rats. It does not discourage them. It kills them permanently at the neurological level, using a biological vulnerability built into the rat's own extraordinary sensory system that no exterminator's quarterly contract has any financial incentive to exploit on your behalf. American homeowners lose an estimated $4 billion every year to pest control services for rodent problems that in the majority of cases could be resolved permanently at the source for under $5 in total materials. Exterminators charge between $200 and $600 for a standard treatment visit. A full infestation protocol runs $1,500 or more. The rodenticide bait blocks they deploy cost them between 30 cents and $1 each. The markup is not on the chemistry. It is on your belief that rat control is complicated, dangerous, and requires a professional license. That belief is worth $14 billion per year to an industry that has no interest in giving you a permanent solution, because a permanent solution ends the service relationship forever. This is the story of the compound that subsistence farmers across Southeast Asia and the Indian subcontinent used for centuries to protect grain stores from rat infestation, that independent researchers began formally documenting in the 1970s before their funding was quietly redirected, and that the modern pest control industry has maintained in deliberate, commercially motivated silence ever since. Welcome to Forbidden Camping. If these stories matter to you, the subscribe button and the bell are the best way to make sure this knowledge survives. This is where we open the vaults the industry welded shut. To understand why this works, you need to go back further than any laboratory study. Back to the rice fields and grain storage systems of rural farming communities across South and Southeast Asia, where for centuries subsistence farmers faced the same crisis every harvest season without access to commercial pest control of any kind. Rats destroyed grain stores. They contaminated food supplies and spread disease through villages operating on margins where a single bad season meant starvation. These farmers could not afford exterminator contracts. What they had were the spices that grew in or near their fields, and what generations of agricultural observation taught them about which plants rats would avoid at any cost. One spice in particular emerged across multiple independent farming traditions, not merely as a deterrent, but as something more consequential. Rats did not just avoid areas where it was concentrated, they died there. The knowledge passed through generations in agricultural tradition and regional herbalist records. It was never commercialized because there was no money in it. And when the global pest control industry consolidated into its modern corporate structure through the 1970s and 1980s, independent researchers who had begun formally studying natural rodent deterrence found their grant funding quietly redirected toward proprietary chemical compounds that could be patented, manufactured at scale, and sold through professional service channels at hundreds of times their production cost. Before I continue, I need to stop and tell you something important. This video is only the surface of what the industry has hidden from you. I spent months collecting everything they buried into one place. Kitchen cabinet restoration chemistry that professional painters use as their first step on every job and never mention to the homeowner writing the check. Headlight restoration that the ALDOA confirmed in laboratory testing for $2 using a bathroom item. Rust conversion compounds the U.S. military deployed across 3 war theaters in 1943. Drain cleaning chemistry that eliminates every household clog for under $1. All of it is inside the complete Forbidden Camping Vault. Over 10 guides in one place. No filler. Every page built for immediate action. The link is in the description right now. But stay here, because the neurological mechanism behind this $1 spice is the part the pest control industry cannot afford for you to understand. The spice is cloves. More specifically, the compound extracted from cloves called Eugenol. And what eugenol does to a rat's neurological system is something the industry has understood quietly since the mid-20th century and chosen never to discuss in any public-facing literature. Here is the mechanism. Rats possess an olfactory system estimated to be between 10,000 and 100,000 times more acute than a human's. That sensitivity makes them extraordinary foragers and navigators. It is also their precise biological vulnerability. Eugenol, when concentrated in a confined space, overwhelms the rat's olfactory receptors beyond the threshold of neurological tolerance. In sufficient concentration, it causes respiratory distress, cascading organ failure, and death. It is not a deterrent operating on discomfort. It is a lethal exposure event, and it leaves no toxic chemical residue hazardous to children, pets, or any other household occupant. The analogy is direct. If atmospheric pressure in a room increased to the point where it physically collapsed your lungs, no amount of strength or intelligence would allow you to survive in that environment. Eugenol creates that condition for a rat's neurological system using a concentration of a naturally occurring compound that costs less than $1 per application at any grocery store in the country. But the lethal mechanism is only half of what makes this solution fundamentally superior to every professional treatment currently sold through pest control service channels. Eugenol does not only kill rats present in the treated environment, it disrupts the pheromone communication infrastructure that rat colonies use to recruit new members from the surrounding population. Rats navigate and communicate through chemical signals embedded in their urine and the grease secreted through their fur. These signals function as a biological roadmap, informing other rats from the local population that a specific location is safe, has food, and has shelter. Every rat that enters your home leaves markers that guide the next wave behind it. When eugenol floods that environment, those pheromone signals are chemically masked and rendered unreadable. Rats approaching from outside who would have followed established scent trails into your property encounter a disrupted signal environment and do not enter. The treatment does not just eliminate the current infestation, it severs the recruitment mechanism that was already in the process of delivering the next generation of rats into your walls. This is the capability that no quarterly bait station contract has ever been able to claim. Rodenticide treatments kill individual rats. They do not disrupt pheromone trails. Rat colonies exposed to bait stations also develop bait shyness within weeks, a behavioral adaptation where individual animals begin avoiding familiar bait points and communicate that avoidance through social learning to the rest of the colony. Pest control companies are fully aware of this phenomenon. It is a structural component of why quarterly service agreements are necessary. The treatment model operates on a designed cycle of treatment, partial reduction, reinfestation, and renewed treatment that is extraordinarily profitable for the service provider and extraordinarily expensive for the homeowner. A full 3-week eugenol treatment protocol using whole cloves costs under $5 in total materials, against a quarterly contract generating $800 to $2,400 in annual billings for a problem the contract is not designed to permanently resolve. The contrast requires no commentary. Here is exactly how to deploy it. Purchase whole cloves from the spice aisle of any grocery store, or pure clove essential oil from any health food supplier or online retailer. A substantial bag of whole cloves costs under $2. Pure clove essential oil runs between $5 and $10 and covers dozens of applications. Do not substitute clove-scented candles or synthetic fragrance products. The eugenol concentration in synthetic products is insufficient to reach lethal threshold. You need the actual compound,